Every point of interest is $600 billion. Think of that. But we keep driving it up.
Trump panicked yesterday and they intervened in the bond market.
What we saw yesterday was a sign of desperation.
This is the most expensive market in American history.
And the pricking of the bubble happens when...
What's up, you guys? It's Graham here, and you better prepare for what just happened. Breaking news. Believe it or not, the United States is suddenly preparing for up to $1 trillion bailout to save the economy. And what's crazy is that all of this is happening during a time where stocks are just as expensive as they were at the peak of the Dotcom Bubble in 2001. Interest rates have been rising out of control, and now people are once again drawing comparisons to 1999, right before everything went to shit. Okay, in all seriousness, we are about to witness one of the largest economic interventions since 2020, and that's why we have to talk about exactly what's happening, why we're about to get another bond market bailout unlike anything that we have seen before, and the danger that almost no one's prepared for. Because once you see what's actually going on beneath the surface, you'll begin to realize that the market's sending a completely different message than what most people think. Although before we start, as usual, if you appreciate the breaking news videos like this, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button and subscribed if you haven't done that already. I know it sounds dumb to ask, I'm not a fan of constantly asking for it either, but it helps out, and as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of a mouse. So thanks so much, and also big thank you to SoFi for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so to start, we need to talk about something that almost all of us were completely unprepared for, and that would be yield control. See, what most people forget is that what actually drives the markets isn't necessarily profits or expansion or attractive valuations. Instead, it's interest rates. And lately, those interest rates have been skyrocketing. Why? Well, to put it simply, investors are worried about long-term inflation continuing to grow. And as a result of that, they're demanding a higher return on their money to compensate for the extra risk. Like, think of it this way. If you believe long-term inflation is going to be 4%, why would you lend your money at 3% or 2%? Instead, you would want 5.5% so you could make a little bit of profit. Well, obviously, that puts a strain on the national debt, on mortgage rates, on the economy, and that's led to Treasury yields reaching their highest level in almost 20 years, which coincidentally also occurred right before the Great Financial Crisis. So what did we do? That's right, the United States stepped in to buy their own long-term treasuries, essentially bailing out the market with a barrage of money printing to bring down interest rates. And believe it or not, this isn't the first time that they've done this to be able to bail out the market. In fact, the United States implemented yield control back in the 1940s to finance the war with cheap money. Then afterwards, the stock market rallied 187%. Then again, we saw various forms of quantitative easing from 2008 to 2014. And then most recently, we all remember what happened in 2020 before the market went crazy. Basically, in all of these cases, yield control was implemented to prevent a market meltdown or a disastrous situation, which means the fact that they implemented this today leads us to question, what do they know that the rest of the market doesn't price in yet? And that, of course, is what leads us to stock prices. First of all, it's no surprise, the stock market loves free money. Like, over the last year, we're up about 20%, and even year to date, we're up almost 12%. But now people are beginning to worry. Are we getting into a stock market bubble to the point where pretty soon everything could come crashing back down? Well, to answer that, we need to talk about whether or not this rally is actually sustainable, because there are 5 concerns that a lot of people are beginning to realize, with the first being number 1, the market's extremely expensive. Look, right off the bat, the CAPE ratio is pretty much sitting at the exact same level as we saw during the peak of the 2000s dot-com bubble. The Buffett Indicator hit an all-time high above 230%, signaling that the market is twice as high as it really should be, and a small number of AI stocks are pretty much responsible for an outsized amount of those recent gains. In fact, the legendary investor Jeremy Grantham recently labeled this the biggest investment bubble in American history. In addition to that, we have number 2, weak monetization. The reality is, hyperscalers are on track for $850 billion worth of spending in 2026. Great, right? Well, it would be if they were making their money back. And so far, MIT found that roughly 95% of AI pilots deliver no measurable impacts to profits. On top of that, other firms call this the largest CapEx bubble in history, comparable to railroads or telecom fiber, where infrastructure is built far ahead of proven cash flows. That's also leading to 3, circular financing. In really basic terms, we've all probably seen this chart here, where large tech firms are investing in, buying from and guaranteeing capacity from each other, boosting each other's revenues. It's kind of like I'm giving $10 to Tom, who gives $10 to John, who gives $10 back to me, and now we all show $10 of revenue, even though it's all just kind of shuffling around our own money. This is number 4, similar to other technology bubbles. Like usually people get ahead of themselves, price in massive growth, and then everything comes crashing down when the expectations don't meet reality, which is especially true with number 5, extreme concentration. Right now it's estimated that 87% of venture capital is flowing into AI, and even Sam Altman questioned, are we in a phase where investors as a whole are excited about AI? My opinion is yes. When bubbles happen, smart people get excited about a kernel of truth, which is flagged as a potential sign of a bubble. However, others strongly disagree and believe that right now could be one of the best opportunities in your lifetime to put money into the markets, especially at a time where the government is beginning to print and push a lot of money back into the market. So in terms of what's actually going on, if this is one of the last chances to buy before prices melt higher, and then what you can do once the market does eventually fall, here's what you came for. Because there's one last piece of data that's about to determine whether or not this could be the best investing opportunity of a lifetime or a massive mistake. Although before we go into that, I just want to be clear that building wealth isn't just about maximizing returns. It's also about diversification and being prepared for wherever the financial system leads us next. Like cryptocurrency is becoming extremely difficult to ignore as tokenization grows and more assets move on to digital networks. Now that doesn't mean that it's right for everybody, but having a safe, convenient place to learn and explore can make a huge difference. And that, of course, is where our sponsor, SoFi, is there to help. Now, what makes them stand out is that SoFi is the first nationally chartered bank where you could buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency all from within one simple app. This means you get all the safeguards of a bank within a federally regulated platform, which is huge. On top of that, they also allow you to buy and sell cryptocurrency from within the same SoFi app as the rest of your finances. This means you can manage your cryptocurrency right alongside with your SoFi checking, savings, and investments without having to jump between platforms. Not to mention, if you don't know where to start, their in-app guidance can help you learn as you go, so you could better understand exactly what you're doing before you make any decisions. Of course, crypto is inherently risky, and you gotta make sure it makes sense for your financial situation before investing. But if you're ready to explore crypto with SoFi, just visit sofi.com/Graham or click the link down below in the description to get started. And from now until August 27th, you'll be able to earn up to $1,000 in your choice of crypto. All the details are down below in the description or at sofi.com/Graham. Thanks so much, and now let's get back to the video. Alright, so in terms of what's currently happening, if the market could soon sell off according to the data, and whether or not it's a good time to keep buying in, we need to talk about the market bubble. Now, I know I might be going a bit extreme here, but I see a lot of people comparing what's happening today with what occurred back in the 1920s Great Depression, except coincidentally, it's almost exactly 100 years later. In fact, you know what's scary? Even when you match up the charts, it looks eerily similar, almost like a confirmation that we've begun the final stages of a great melt-up before everything comes crashing down into the abyss. However, critics of this say that those people have got this entirely wrong. And in actuality, the market's going to be continuing to go even higher for much longer than expected for 5 main reasons, with the first being, number 1, companies are making a lot of money. Like, it's no surprise that Nvidia, Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, you name it, they're all really profitable, and their AI buildouts have actually been funded by internal cash rather than debt or equity issuance. Earnings have also beaten expectations, signaling that there's real sustainable growth driving these valuations, and smaller companies have actually begun to catch up, which should, in theory, give a more balanced rally, especially when you compare it with number 2. There is rapid growth. For example, just look at cloud AI run rates. They've been increasing at triple-digit percentages. Anthropic reached a 30-fold increase by mid-2026. Usage metrics are rising. And all of this signals that we could see trillions of dollars worth of earnings and growth over the next few years. On top of that, we also have number 3. Valuations are still not as extreme as 2000. Now sure, the forward PE ratio is similar, but they're still significantly below the 80x multiples that were a lot more common from unprofitable companies 30 years ago. Plus, a lot of those market gains are from actual earnings rather than just speculation, leading to number 4, low IPO activity. Now, generally at the peak of the bubble, you see a wave of IPOs and acquisitions of companies that aren't quite profitable. And even though SpaceX was the largest IPO ever in history, one IPO isn't necessarily the boogeyman of the entire economy, especially when a lot of companies are already using and making money from AI. And finally, that brings us to number 5. Rallies don't end just because the price is too high. The reality is, there needs to be an unforeseen catalyst that cascades into a wave of selling. And right now, despite rising oil, international conflict, and a yen carry trade, there's nothing that's gotten in the way so far of innovation. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we're definitely not in a bubble, but according to Fidelity, there are some red flags to be made aware of that if these start flashing, we should be concerned. And those red flags are, in order, companies burning through cash while they spend more than they make, businesses each owning a piece of each other to the point where if one falls, they all fall, debt levels are growing at a proportion to profits, AI is hitting a limit in terms of how much energy it uses, literally capping growth, and higher borrowing costs, which lower profits. In fact, Fidelity thinks that this is just the very beginning, and the markets will continue going higher because of AI. The way they see it, professional services, companies, industrial firms, healthcare, and utility companies will be able to use it to scale. But even with all of that said, in terms of what the data says is actually most likely going to happen next, here's what's pretty surprising. And it all has to do with future returns. Personally, I am a huge fan of looking at the data because statistically, this is probably the most accurate. And when you look at the numbers, yes, we are historically high. But Ben Carlson points out that the last 30 years is a lot more relevant to us than the last 150 before the internet took over. And once you look at it like this, our average isn't anywhere near as crazy as some people make it out to be. For this reason, Ben Carlson followed up his research by saying that earnings are still incredibly strong, and the stock market is surprisingly efficient. It doesn't care what's necessarily happening today. It only believes what could be happening in the future. And as one researcher said, the stock market's job is to make you say, this makes no sense. Separate from that, another analyst believes that if companies deliver on earnings expectations and political tensions stabilize, even slightly, there remains a credible path for equities to move higher. Now yes, had you been an investor from 1928 to 1949, there would have been almost 2 decades where the stock market went nowhere but down and sideways. But even then, had you literally invested at the very peak and then done nothing, with dividends reinvested, over that time frame, you still would have earned about 100% in profits. Again, assuming that you didn't buy any of the dip, which realistically is not possible because you're going to be buying in consistently over time. So in terms of whether or not we're in a bubble, here's the reality. If the United States is going to see a repeat of what happened to Japan, where prices fell for decades, that means our earnings would have to stall out, and the S&P 500 would need to trade at a valuation of 14,000 just to be equivalent to what the Japanese saw in the 1970s and 80s. Or basically, if earnings start to decline and our market doubles in price, then yes, there is a lot to be concerned about, and we could very much compare ourselves with Japan. But from a bubble standpoint, yes, the stock market's expensive, but that doesn't mean it can't keep going higher. Not to mention, just the fact that we're talking about a stock market bubble means that maybe some of it's priced in. Not to mention, history shows that buying in at all-time highs barely moves the needle in terms of your overall returns, since the market naturally hits all-time highs as inflation grows and companies expand. So in terms of what I'm personally doing myself, my own thoughts about what's going on and what you could do today to come out ahead, here is what you came for. Overall, I am a huge fan of the phrase, the market could remain irrational longer than you could remain solvent. This means that as smart as you might think you are to predict the future, the market has consistently defied the odds that picking one side or the other is usually a losing proposition. Like you could be completely correct that the market is overpriced and due for a 30% correction, but then out of nowhere, Scott Bessent says he's printing money to bring down the yields. Boom, your entire thesis all of a sudden is null and void and you are wrong. Or you could think that the markets are going to keep going up higher because they're printing a whole bunch of money. And then, boom, out of nowhere, Trump initiates a 50% tariff on Canada. All of a sudden, you're wrong again, even though On paper, you should have been correct. That's why I really just do my best to diversify as much as possible throughout my investments. I got United States, I got international markets, I got about 20 to 25% in treasuries that earn between 3.5 to maybe 3.8% right now. I own a little real estate, I have a little bit in a Bitcoin ETF, and I maintain my income to the point where if the market drops, I can still keep buying in no matter what the price is. I'm really such a firm believer that you can't predict what's going to happen next, but you can have control over how patient you are, how often you buy in, whether or not you panic sell at the bottom, and if you just stay consistent, you should be just fine. Especially if you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you want to see bonus videos including early access to content like this and member exclusive content, feel free to join as a channel member. You get an extra video from me every single week, early access, priority responses to all the comments. Would love to have you a part of it. And in addition to that, I also do subscriber audits where you could send me your finances, and if it's interesting, I'll go through it and I'll tear you to shreds. So if that sounds interesting, feel free to join. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.